Welcome back. I hope the last video was a fun one for everybody, as ProRat is a pretty interesting tool when it comes to performing kind of a more lighter side of malicious activity, while also offering very detrimental aspects such as formatting the entire drive and editing registry and deleting system files. With that being said, the last Trojan tool we're going to look at before moving to our virus section of this course is creating a Trojan server using Theef rat Trojan. Now, Theef is a remote access Trojan written in Delphi. It allows remote attackers access to the system via port 9871. Theef is a Windows-based application for both client and server. The Theef server is a virus you install on a target computer, and the Theef client is what you then use to control the virus. Now, generally an attacker might send a server executable to the victim machine and entice the victim into running it. In this lab, we are directly executing the file on the victim machine, which will be our Windows server. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to log into server. Thankfully, I don't have to enter the password. And with that said, we are actually just going to go down here. We're going to go back one, come to Theef, and we will run our server 210 executable. I was waiting for a second, hoping a UAC will pop up, but it's no big deal that it didn't. On your machine, you may get a pop-up that basically says, hey, are you sure you want to run this? And I do have my firewall turned off, so Windows Defender is not going to block anything. If you are running this in your home network, you obviously haven't watched my other videos. This is something that you should not be running in your home network. In fact, I wouldn't run this in anything other than a sandbox. None of the tools and software that I'm using or showing is malicious to the point that it's communicating to an outside server and sending your information to someone else. But with that being said, they can have detrimental effects. One click, we could have completely formatted our hard drive in the last section. And as we keep in this video course, we will be using more malicious software. With more malicious software comes more risk, and therefore I would never recommend you running this inside of your own network. So we're going to come here to Theef, and we've already executed the server on our server side, so we're going to execute our client. Now after we execute client, it's asking for our IP address. It will not automatically fill it in. If you notice, it says .12 here, and that is not my machine's IP address, nor is it the victim's machine, which in this case is .16. We're going to leave both FTP and our port to default. Of course, FTP does not operate on this port by default. It operates on port 20, 21, 989, and 990. But we're just going to go ahead and leave it how they have it set up. We're going to click connect. So we'll give that a few seconds. Connection failed. Okay, so as always, if you have an error and if something goes wrong, that's completely fine. Before we re-click on this, what we're actually going to do is let's come down here and let's see what might have happened. So if I go to Task Manager and scroll down, I'm looking for my services 32, which I do not see. So maybe I just failed on my double click. With that being said, I still do not see services. Let's come back to Windows 10. Let's try to reconnect and let's see what happens. Okay. So after 2 fails, I have to assume that it's just a user error. So what we're going to do is, maybe due to the fact that I have not restarted the machine since recording the last video, I'm going to come back to server. I am going to restart this machine. So while I do that, I'm not going to keep you guys waiting, and I'm going to pause the video. So see you back here in just a second. So hopefully that fixed it. All I did was just restart the machine. So now let's get back into our CH tools, our malware. We'll let all these command prompts go away. We will go into our Trojan types, rat, thief, and hopefully I'll even click on it twice, just to be sure. And I believe I closed it here as well. So let's see if we can garner a connection at this point. Okay. So I'm just thinking over here at the moment. Let's try to run it as administrator. Honestly, any attempt to run it should have worked. Come back to Windows 10. Oh, I see the problem. Okay, you're all gonna hate me. Wow, I am very sorry. That's what happens sometimes, guys. You want to access a network, you see 10, you see 16, and you just assume the rest of it is correct. But that's about 3 minutes of me trying to figure it out, and it's just because I typed it in wrong. So connection accepted, connected to transfer port, connection failed. So let's see if it works the second time. Okay, so I believe we have touchdown in Houston. Hopefully we don't have a problem. So now what we should be able to do is we should be able to come to computer information, should be able to look at PC details. Now you'll notice, just like in last videos, we can see the computer name and the user that's logged in. Unlike last videos, we don't get as much information as far as it doesn't know if it's in a work group, which because of other tools, we know that it is not. The registered owner, that's not really giving us much information. But by seeing this available memory, this server looks like a great candidate for a DDoS or DOS attack. However, by seeing that, I almost think it's wrong. Let's actually look. See, there's 6 gigabytes of memory, so yeah, I feel like there's more available than 2047 megabits, but hey, who am I to argue? So now that we do have access to the computer information and we have successfully made a connection, what we're going to do is we're actually going to click the spy icon, and you'll notice that it gives us a few different prompts as far as what we want to do with this software. For instance, clicking Task Manager here, we can view the task running on the target machine. which isn't very much. And this program names itself, whereas the latter programs that we've used have all kind of hid themselves as a services32.exe. With that being said, we can also close this window and we can select a few different things, such as keylogger. Now inside of the keylogger, we'll just make sure that we start it with this play button, and we can come back here and we can make a few different keystrokes. With that being said, we'll just create a new text document, and we'll say, I really love being secure and not hacked. Now, as always, we don't have to save anything. We can just see that not only did we create a new text document in the name of the text document, we created it in Notepad, but we can see what we've written. So pretty powerful stuff, pretty normal stuff as far as a keylogger and everything else goes. So after that, a few of the other things that we can explore is we can come to fun, we can do some matrix, and completely destroy the computer apparently. Normally it kind of just does some silly stuff, but I guess the computer just couldn't handle that. With the newest matrix, if anyone's seen it, it is a total letdown, and apparently so is this matrix tool. Yep. Normally we get green print going across the screen, but hey, some things just don't work sometimes. We'll get out of matrix. Let's look and see. We could of course do a chat button as we have performed in other things. We can do a remote access using our MS agent. We're not exactly going to load any plugins at this moment. We can flip our screen, we can do screenwriter. So ultimately not as powerful as a few of the other tools we've looked at, but it's something that if you're going to kind of go over each of the things, it's something that's worth mentioning and something that's worth going over. We can still do our, we've looked at passwords, of course, we don't have any FTP stuff surfacing, and if you have FTP, while this will capture it, you might as well use Wireshark to capture something like that. We don't have a webcam installed. We can see the services and process viewer. Task manager we've looked at. Of course, there is a screen capture tool, which we can even do as a continuous capture. And what we could do is we could just go to this actual file and look at it, but it's not going to be anything special. So I hope this has given you a brief overview of a few of the things that we can do inside of here. Of course, we can control, power. We can again update and edit the registry. We can run batch scripts, remove desktop icons, control their keyboard, look at their clipboard, change their date and time, which is just extremely malicious. But after saying that, actually, with a lot of stuff in industry connecting to Radius servers, and Radius servers being extremely picky about how close the time is in related to the server. So say that, if you look down here locally, this is actually off by an hour, but if it's 3:44 my time, but my Radius server thinks that it's 6 a.m., it's not going to allow me to log in. So this could be a way to actually isolate this computer, as far as the victim's machine, from the network. We could come to screensaver and we could, add a good screensaver that says, hey, you've been pwned, or something else silly that hackers love to do. We could, of course, execute remote prompts, um, look at their IM chat spy. Just by seeing this option, you should realize that this is a fairly old tool. I'm surprised that we can't click on one of these and it say, hey, what's their AOL password? But um, furthermore, of course, we have server options because this executes as a client and server. We have our command console or IP tools, which we can look in here. It's basically just how we're going to ping and resolve host names on the network. Right now it's pointing to our loopback address. And ultimately, we can see that Theef introduced inside of 2004. So we're using a very old software version, which is completely fine for what we wanted to execute and what I wanted to show. So with all that being said, I'm going to come to my server 2016 and I am going to make sure this service is no longer running. Should be pretty easy considering that it's just this services app. And let's just make sure that there's no Theef actually named inside of here, just so I have everything cleaned up as good as possible. And so hopefully that brief overview of one more malware analysis, or, well, in this case, malware tool, was something that you enjoyed, something that you might want to play around inside of your own home lab. Now, as I say every video, do not execute this inside of your actual environment. Execute this inside of a sandbox, execute this on a virtual machine, but do not do it on a bridged network or anything else that'll actually connect to a computer you use on a daily basis. If you have an old computer and want to be extremely risky, sure, connect it to it. Heck, connect ProRat to it and format it for all I care. But I would be amiss if I didn't at least give you the standard warning that you are playing with fire. You are infecting one of your computers with malware, which basically is a virus, and it's something that can get unstable very quickly. As always, when you execute this, make sure to turn off your firewall and remain careful and cautious. Cautious, yeah. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something. And until next time, have a good rest of your day.